Hey guys, welcome to the show. This is episode 2, and we are the Fantasy Football Scouts. My name's Rob. I'm with Dan and Scott, and today we're going to be covering the running back position. We're going to talk about guys that we really like, guys you should avoid, considered busts, and also some sleeper picks. So, how you guys doing?
So, another day, another episode, and I got a lot of opinions on the running back landscape of the NFL. So hot takes are incoming.
That's what you were saying.
Yeah. So we're getting into the running backs here, then, huh? And you got a rant there, Scotty.
Yeah. I was just saying to these guys that
Scott is well known for his rants.
It really pisses me off because you see all those membership. Fantasy football is a very big moneymaker in the industry, especially this time of year. People make a lot of money off new memberships, off of new players, selling those books. And every single one of them are going to give you the exact same effing 3 players. And there will not be a single one where you will see a differentiation of them. It'll be Christian McCaffrey number 1, Dalvin Cook number 2, and Derrick Henry number 3. And frankly, you'll probably see Kamara and Barkley number 5. It's always going to be the same. They're never going to do anything different.
You won't see a wide receiver until.
And it really pisses me off because it doesn't paint a proper picture of how the draft should go. I don't understand why no one has respect for the receivers. Now, I will say this is because of a personal preference. When I started fantasy football with you guys, it was always very running back heavy. Go get your Chris Johnsons and your Arian Fosters, that's what I did, and it was a freaking disaster when they were hurt by week 1. So I really fell in love with drafting the receivers. I probably shouldn't be telling my fellow opponents this when we get the draft because they'll start noticing. But if you look back on my history, I've fallen very in love with drafting receivers in the first and second round. The biggest misconception that they seem to tell you is that running back is really shallow, and there are no workhorse running backs, and there are a ton of receivers out there, so you can just wait on receiver and you can get them later. And I don't understand that line of thinking. I will tell you right now, you can count them yourselves. The top 12 here go from McCaffrey all the way to Cam Akers. I don't think Cam Akers, but even, frankly, the second round is loaded, too. There are a ton of quality receivers. I'm looking at Mixon, Sanders, Montgomery, whatever. When I flip over to the wide receiver page, let me tell you, it gets pretty ugly pretty quick after the top 12. There are very few what you can call dynamite elite receivers in the NFL, and it's always been this way. So
there's a lot of dart throws.
I don't understand how the narrative was built, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. So how do you feel about going receiver in the first, second round?
If you're going 0 RB, you better know which wide receivers that you're taking.
Yeah.
It's not about being 0 RB, but you have to understand this, especially if you're a new player. If you draft running backs, bang, bang, there is a very high chance that they're going to get hurt. Season-ending injuries are the most common with running backs.
Yes.
So I'm not saying don't do it. Like, everyone's going to do it. All your friends are going to do it. It's just the thing that happens. But people do not estimate properly how high risk it is to go fully in on running backs and ignore the receivers.
And then we're also talking about guys, running backs that are coming off of serious injuries as well, right? So it's like, how confident are you that Christian McCaffrey is healthy?
Well, here's the reality. Sorry to cut you off, Rob, but here's the reality. When a running back goes down, there's a guaranteed replacement on the waiver wire, even for a week. They will tell you this, but there is no replacement for the receivers when they go down. I have tried. I have happened multiple times. The years where I was dumb enough to draft Odell Beckham with my first overall pick, let me tell you something. Didn't go well for me because once he goes down, there's no replacements for these guys. You can look over all your years and you can look back on your records. You will not find guys finding great receivers just magically coming out of nowhere. It doesn't happen.
And that being said, the guys in our league that usually win, they usually have, 2 stud receivers. I go back to my championship year.
Shout out to Tom, who showed me the way when you won it with Antonio and Julio Jones, and I'm thinking like a dick, why do I have Arian Foster when this guy got Julio in the second round? I felt ripped off.
Yeah. My championship year, too, I had A.J. Green and Josh Gordon when he absolutely went bananas.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about.
Receivers, there's something to be had there.
Yeah, we're talking about championship runs. So what year did you win?
2014. He won.
2014.
I thought it was 20. I thought it was. Yeah, I could be wrong, but I thought it was 2014.
So our league has been going on. I mean, I should know. I'm the commissioner since 2009.
Something
I believe,
like that.
Right?
Yeah.
So we're going on 13 years now. I have another league that I've been doing for a little bit longer, High School Buddies, 2006. And I think I've won the championship 3 or 4 times in that league. And in our league, which is definitely the tougher league, I've won it twice. And Dan, I know Dan's won it once. Scott has not won it, but
it was a lot of tough years of bad drafting with a little bit of bad luck, but you can't blame it on that when you have real bad drafting, which is what I had.
The competition is fierce. Yeah. Let's be honest. Yeah. We got killers in our league, and it is tough, man.
Make no mistake, though, you can ruin yourself with some bad picks. I mean, I'm talking Arian Fosters, Odell Beckhams, a quarterback. I took Tom Brady in the first round one year. It doesn't go well when you don't do well with your first few rounds at least.
So talking about injuries, what do you think about Saquon? 100%? Yeah.
Yeah, I will say, by the way, Rob, when you won it, you had Jordy Nelson as that big trade you made with Mike. So you did have serious receivers on your team. So just so people understand this, that's the way it works.
You beat me in the finals that year because not to name any names, but Salim took my guy that.
Yes, they'll never forget.
I will never forget.
That's
this.
Neither here nor there. We were just talking about how receivers really do bring you to the championship because playoff time comes around. It's hard to have those running backs at 100% health. They get nicked up.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah.
As far as Saquon Barkley goes, I will preface this real quickly. He is on my bust list. I want nothing to do with Saquon. Yeah. I've never been a big fan of his, honestly. I know we've had quite the back and forth in our chat about Saquon Barkley over the years.
Mm-hmm.
He could be an electric playmaker. He can get one big play, but you will see a lot of 1-yard plays, a lot of negative yards. That might have been a product of how bad the Giants were.
Yeah.
It is what it is, but...
Dan, you were saying you like Daniel Jones when it came to quarterbacks. So does that mean you're high on Saquon as well this year?
Well, I'm biased because Saquon absolutely destroyed me last year, going down against the Bears.
You had him on your team last year?
I drafted him. First overall?
First overall. Yeah, it did not
work out.
Yeah.
So,
well, Saquon was bad luck for Dan. I will say this. I wasn't surprised that Matt lost Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing people need to understand about running backs. There's actually a lot of art to this, unlike the quarterbacks where you're going on feel. Running backs, there's a few things you need to be recognized when it comes to running backs, whether you're drafting them early or not. When a guy has or gets near the 400 carry mark, we call that the Le'Veon Bell level. It's dangerous. Actually, originally it was the DeMarco Murray case study, where the closer you get to 400 carries year over year, it gets really hard to keep up your. It's just one of those things that either they don't recover or they're more prone to injury. I wouldn't be surprised if a guy like even as great as he is as Derrick Henry, as a big guy as he is, I would not be shocked if he maybe gets hurt this year because of that workload that you continue to put on your body year over year.
If you're very interested in a guy like Derrick Henry, who has a lot of miles on him, you can always pivot if he's there and take Nick Chubb, who is very similar to Derrick Henry, actually.
We'll talk about him in a second because I'm definitely really high on Nick Chubb. But the other thing I was going to simply say was that yards per carry is a stat that people should get to recognize because yards per carry is very indicative of if a player is doing well or where he's at with his body, his game. And the magic number is 4.0. If the average running back will gain 4.0 yards per carry, and if they fall under that, it's not a good sign of where they're heading or where the team is heading as productivity is concerned. So it's a bit of a nuanced thing, but these are things you can recognize in running backs.
Yeah. So Nick Chubb, Dan?
Yeah, Nick Chubb, number one guy on my board. What's gonna hurt you maybe a little bit is that he's not a guy that's gonna catch balls out of the backfield. And when he does, he's not gonna find pay dirt. He only has 2 receiving touchdowns in his career, but what Kevin Stefanski does, calling plays, we've seen it in the past. He always gets the most out of his running backs, and his duo, they're probably the 2 best duo in the league, him and Kareem Hunt. But
are you concerned about that? About Kareem Hunt stealing touches?
Not at all.
No.
There's enough ball to go around.
Yeah. No, I like Chubb as well for sure.
Yeah, Chubb is actually the number 1 running back on my must-have list as well, believe it or not. I'm really high on him, and I mean even over the big 3, whatever, McCaffrey, Cook, Henry. When you watch Chubb run, this guy is a real bullhammer, and he did something rare last year. He got hurt really badly, came back and played really well. You very rarely will see that out of a fantasy football player. It is pretty shocking. His numbers in the games he played. Sorry,
he had
190 attempts, 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns, 5.6 yards per carry. Like I was talking about.
That was a career high in touchdowns.
As far as Dan's thing about not catching balls, it is true, but that might be mostly because Kareem Hunt is there, and he is a fantastic catching running back. That doesn't mean Chubb can't. You don't be surprised if Derrick Henry had this exact same narrative that he can. Maybe it's still true, but I saw him catch a 99-yard. He caught it. It took a screen all the way to the house. So these guys could potentially break off every now and then. Maybe it won't happen because, like Dan said, Kareem Hunt is there. But he had 16 catches last year for 150 yards. It's not a lot, but it's not zero. Maybe there's room to grow. You mentioned Kevin Stefanski, great offensive coordinator. The key to this guy is he is a running back eccentric offensive coordinator. He enjoys running the ball as much as he can. That's why the two of them both work out together.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work out that way where two guys can do it. It comes to the expense of Baker Mayfield's air numbers, maybe the receivers they have. But frankly, the receivers they have haven't proven that they need or deserve that much.
They like to run the ball,
so,
for sure.
It's a match made in heaven. You know what? I was looking at Cleveland's defense on a tangent. They look like they're going to be a serious force this year. They've been stacking up talent now for a few years. They brought Jadeveon Clowney to play with Myles Garrett. That's pretty impressive. So they're going to give you opportunities to get out there and play with that defense in the way that they're constructed. So I agree with Dan. Nick Chubb was the number one running back on my personal board. If I was going to draft a running back.
Yeah. If you guys end up with, let's say, the third pick overall, is that the guy you're taking?
Well, as I said, I always will take receivers now.
Yeah.
No matter, I have no fear. I've done it for the worst, but I feel like I've mastered it. I've always, last 2 years especially, I've been able to nail the proper receivers, and I will continue to go down that road. However, I will fully endorse Nick Chubb as a pick because I like the way he runs.
Dan, what about you? You taking Nick Chubb in the first?
Right now, he's the number one player on my board.
Yeah. So that's it. Yes.
And you just won't hear that in other places, guys. You won't. You're always going to hear the regular company line. They're going to tell you some bullcrap about the guys that are obviously already up there. We're telling you that Nick Chubb would be the number one running backs on our board because we really believe it.
Who else would you guys consider a must-have or a hot pick? Someone that the audience should consider drafting come draft day.
I'll start off because ironically, me and Dan had this very conversation in the car where he disagreed with my player, and I'm going to be curious to hear as to what his reasoning is. But the number 2 must-have player on my board was Jonathan Taylor.
Okay.
232 attempts last year. That's really good. That's a perfect number. 1,100 yards. 11 touchdowns, 5.0 yards per carry. That's all great stuff. 36 receptions for 294 yards and a touchdown. So he's giving you the dual stuff. He actually, I had him a lot in DFS last year, and he was pretty bad. So I was shocked to see how successful he was, but I know he came on really strong late in the year.
Yeah,
and that is a really good sign. You can't quantify this, but a lot of running backs will break down as the season goes on. They'll be really strong to start, and they'll get hurt. Jonathan Taylor went the other way.
Yeah.
This guy was just starting to really pick it up. I've said it before. I think Indy has the best line in the NFL. They have the best center. They have an amazing right guard. I think Carson Wentz will not hinder his production. And Jonathan Taylor could very well be my second running back on the board. I mean, maybe that's a little more controversial than the Nick Chubb one, but I have no problem taking Jonathan Taylor over Christian McCaffrey. He's young and he has it.
Yeah, so Dan, is he in your bust list or
he's in my bust because if you're paying a premium for a guy like Jonathan Taylor, which you will,
absolutely,
you can't be messing around with the fact that Frank Reich, who calls the plays, he'll ride the hot hand. So if your first round pick gets benched because Marlon Mack or whoever is playing better, we saw it multiple times where Naheem Hines was the guy and Jonathan Taylor was banished to the bench.
Well,
that's true.
You need to know that your number one pick is going to be on the field more often than not. And right now, through no fault of Jonathan Taylor's, but because he's a fantastic player, but I just don't know that he's going to be on the field.
And Marlon Mack he's coming off an injury, but I think he's 100%.
Well, I can guarantee you this: Marlon Mack won't be 100%. We've seen a lot of times where these ACL, MCL, PCL tears take 2 seasons
Yeah.
to get fully back.
Is that what happened? He
He
tore
had a
everything?
bad one. Yeah, he had a bad one. It was really
Okay.
early on, but you know what? People are shocked when they see that. But we've seen it from many players of many positions where they're not even quarterbacks. We saw it with Tom Brady the year after he came back from his brutal injury that he didn't quite have it. It was his lowest productive season, I believe, in 2012 or whatever it was.
Really, Naheem, Jordan Wilkins.
I don't think that these guys are nearly as talented, nor do they deserve the credence of Jonathan Taylor. So I disagree that there's going to be any type of battle for touches. I really think that he is a bell cow.
I feel like Hines was more of a pass catcher.
He's a scat back. He's a third. Yeah, he's one of those. You can have them both on the field at the same time. Possibly. I'm not trying to tell Dan that I'm winning this debate, but I don't see what he is claiming for Jonathan Taylor.
So Scott has Jonathan Taylor as a must-have, and Dan has him as a bust. And honestly, I have him neutral. Really, I'm just not sure if I'm going to be drafting him, if he's going to be high on my list just yet.
And that's okay, right? When you see training camp, and if you see something you like, that is the type of thing that hypes you up for a player. And if you see that he's not really giving you what you feel, it's a tough thing with training camp. But if you see something you like, you lean into it, and if you don't, you move on. That's the way it goes. You can't be looking at everybody all the time.
One guy that I really like is Aaron Jones. And now talking about Aaron Rodgers and the question mark that is he going to play or is he not going to play, I'm not too concerned about that. I think he will be in the lineup. So Aaron Jones is really high on my list. Jamal Williams is in Detroit. AJ Dillon is good, but I think Aaron Jones is gonna be the guy, and he's gonna be really high on my list come draft day.
We've seen him do it time and time again, so there's no reason to say that he won't. For the most part, Green Bay's line is back, and
that's true. Yeah,
and LaFleur, he comes from that McVay system where he just loves to get the running back involved, and he really loves Aaron Jones.
Did you guys have Aaron Jones on either of your lists?
No, you know what? He was just one of those guys that I don't really. I've never been a big Aaron Jones fan. There's no reason for it. I can't really. I mean, I always joke with Dan that I don't really like to have too many Jones, Johnsons, and Smiths on my radar because I just have a team of generic guys. It's kind of a joke, but he's had some amazing productivity with Green Bay. You can't deny that. The opportunity cost is astronomical. He's going number 9 overall right now in Yahoo. Yeah. So your first round pick. If he falls to the second round, that's great.
Yes.
But even the players around him in the second round are just as talented. That's not fair. I'm not trying to besmirch Aaron Jones. I just think you can take him or you can leave him. You don't unless you're passionate about him like Rob is.
Yeah.
Then go grab him, I suppose. But I didn't have a whole lot to say about him one way or another. There's no giant thought process on Aaron Jones.
Yeah, I have no problem reaching for guys that I really want.
Which is smart.
And I do it all the time. I'll reach for guys. And, depending what pick I have in the draft will determine if Aaron Jones is part of my team or not.
Yeah, he's going low in the first round, so he can easily slide to 12. If he's 9, he can slide. There's no reason, these things happen. And that's it is what it is, I suppose. We can't love or hate everyone, I suppose.
It's hard to predict who the other guys are going to draft right now, right? So really, it's just
they don't even know.
Yeah.
Well, but for the general public, I can tell you do enough mock drafts and you get a sense of where players are going. I can tell you the first 7 or 8 players guaranteed. It just happens. This is how the general public reacts. So if you're in a pool full of maybe not radical crazies like us, because guys in our pool, including me, we will just throw that book right in the garbage, and we will just start taking the players right off of where we want. We have no fear to do that.
That's true.
Yeah.
So what are we thinking about what's going on in Chicago right now? Because they're saying they want to get David Montgomery.
Did you read my mind? Is that what happened here? You read my mind?
Exactly.
Because my next must-have player, and I'll let you do your thing, Dan, but my next must-have player is David Montgomery.
They're saying that they want to get him 20 carries a game, and if you do the math, 20 times 17, we're at 320 carries?
Listen, I'll tell you this much. The numbers read like this. He had 247 attempts last year. Again, that's a great number like Taylor. 1,070 yards, 8 touchdowns, 4.3 yards per carry. It's a little lower than the other guys, but it's still really good. He had 54 catches, 438 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And let's face it, guys, Chicago's offense was freaking terrible last year. They were horrible. This guy was doing it all by himself.
A lot of that production came towards at the end of the season where he played Detroit twice.
That's okay, though.
Who ranked
we can't start splicing production like that, because it gets tough. I mean, in the end, he did well.
Because when he played a team that was over the top half of the league in rush defense, he disappeared. But
he's a must-have for you still.
He's still a must-have in the terms of I chase volume with my running backs, and if this guy's getting 320 carries, then
yes, good point. Yeah. Very good point.
I'll tell you why he's a must-have on my list, right? Because we covered it with the we haven't done receivers quite yet, but we haven't got there. But when I go receiver, I've eliminated all of those top tier running backs from my list. It's just the nature of what you're gonna have to accept.
So Montgomery
Montgomery
be there.
is in the third round right now. Doesn't mean I can get him because I was missing him depending on where I was in the swing.
Yeah.
But he is one of the few guys that are there, and that's how I'm trying to build a championship team.
Are you concerned about Tariq Cohen being back?
No,
is he even on the team still?
Yeah, he's still there.
Yeah, no, I'm a very avid hater of Tariq Cohen. He's a very undersized receiver. Sorry, he always plays receiver, but he's not a threat to David Montgomery's production.
Yeah, David Montgomery.
It's his ADP that really is why he's on my must-have list, because when I'm trying to identify guys that I can grab after I take 2 receivers, he happens to be one of them that, as of right now, you never know the way drafts can radically change, but right now he's floating around that.
I'm seeing a list here with Mike Davis ahead of Montgomery,
which shit is like that confuses me. It's so strange that anyone would do that.
Miles Gaskin in Miami, that's iffy.
That's why I say it's possible that it's a pipe dream and I won't get him when reality kicks in and people go, why on earth would I draft this guy? But if you're in a public league, if you're in a new league, people that don't really know what they're doing, they use the books to draft, you are going to see names like this slide because they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's the key to a guy like David Montgomery.
How do you guys feel about Chase Edmonds in Arizona?
Throw that name right in the garbage. Not going to do you nothing.
Well, I guess we have quite a lot of disagreements on the running backs, because when I was creating a sleeper list trying to fulfill this exercise, let's be frank, there's not a lot of sleeper running backs in the current landscape, because everybody, especially in leagues that actually can roster 3 running backs with a flex position, they go so fast and furious that it could get chippy for you when you do what I do. So you have to really know how to dig and look for them. So I was targeting pairs, teams with 2 that aren't really getting a leg up right now. And one of my pairs was Chase Edmonds and
James Conner.
And James Conner. Yes, here it is right here. Yes, James Conner. So Edmonds is going in the 5th round right now, which is fair. James Conner's going in round 11 right now.
Okay,
he's basically free now. You don't know which one of these guys is gonna emerge. But if you, again, I'm a big, I believe the hype on Arizona's offense. I'm really into everything they're doing.
Yeah.
With Kyler Murray there, with Hopkins there, I mean, AJ Green, they score points, and one of these guys, be it week to week or whatnot, is going to score points. So you would be smart to grab one of these guys in the draft if you're really light on running backs. Like I
like how Connor is going to be available late, but his health really concerns me.
Yeah.
So if it has to be one of the 2, I would go with Edmonds over Connor just because of health.
Here's all I'll say to you though: which one do you think did better last year, Edmonds or Connors?
Well, it's hard to say because Kenyon Drake was running the ball a lot in Arizona.
That's true.
But now he's in Vegas.
I will give you that. But when I was comparing their seasons last year, just individually, Connor's actually outproduced
a little bit better.
Oh yeah, Chase Edmonds.
You got
Chase Edmonds is only on the field very little. He only has 10 touches a game.
As he's stating, the positive is Edmonds doesn't have a lot of injury history on him, so he could be the smart bet. But you're talking they both had 100 attempts. Connor's had 700 yards rushing to Edmonds 400. Connor's had 6 touchdowns to Edmonds 1.
Okay, so let's move.
The fact of the matter is,
but they both had 4.3 yards per carry, 4.6, 4.3. So they were okay.
That you're not going to get any touchdown upside with either one of those guys.
They can both catch the ball as well. By the way, though, they both caught the ball pretty well last year.
Kyler, when you get down to the red zone, Arizona tended to give Kyler Murray the ball. Same with Buffalo, the same Buffalo situation where Josh Allen was their red zone back. So
yeah, it happens. But again, we're just talking sleepers or someone like when you're trying to fill out your team or roster someone. You know, you're not gonna start knocking all these running backs off your list because of rushing quarterbacks. That's foolish.
Who else would you have? Let's move on from Edmonds. Who else would you have in your sleepers or your must-haves for running backs?
Ooh, a sleeper. I really like Trey Sermon.
Oh, I was gonna actually bring him up. I was
San Francisco guy. Raheem Mostert always hurt.
Yeah. But there's also Jeff Wilson.
Yeah, he's a really special teams guy. I'll say this, and I'll let you if you have something to add about Sermon. I don't see. They're a great running team, San Fran, but they're a very spread the wealth type team. I've been burned by San Fran running backs quite a few times. You know, Tevin Coleman was there, didn't ever work out. They have no fear of taking a guy off and on the field and running like 4 different running backs in a game. I've seen them run like 4 different running backs in a game.
Yeah,
so
and they also have Wayne Gallman.
I'm not crazy about Sermon. I don't know a lot about him, and let me tell you, he is one of the most hyped players right now in the average stratosphere of this stuff, so he might actually end up getting overdrafted, to be frank, because of whatever the shiny penny is going on with him. But they're also throwing in a new quarterback into the mix, which is very
maybe.
I mean, I guarantee you that
no,
he's playing.
I think Jimmy Garoppolo starts.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay, I think the other guys started. Who sorry, was it Field? Who
Trey
Lance. Yeah. I don't think that they drafted him second overall to not play him. So that's and it's been an ugly rumor mill about what's happening with Garoppolo. So
thing with Trey is
time will tell.
He has not played football in a long time.
True.
He's coming from
be
a
all
small
that as it may,
school.
they traded up for him, guys. Remember that. They traded up in the draft to grab him. So
that doesn't mean he can't sit for a year and learn from.
But it doesn't. But like I said in the earlier quarterback episode, but that doesn't happen though. Love was the only one to do that in 20 years.
What's so hot about Trey Sermon that you like?
Well, I just love the young offensive coordinators there that come from the Kyle Shanahan tree. They know how to get their guys in space. They love the read zone option, and he'll just. I haven't looked at their schedule, but I'm pretty sure they have a pretty soft
I'll be frank
schedule.
about what everyone will tell you in the fantasy football community about Trey Sermon. There's just not a lot of sleepers at running back to talk about. That's why people are talking about him. There's just not a lot of other options. It's a very light year on young running backs.
If you want to pivot though to another guy that can potentially win you your league and is going pretty much free right now, you can look no further than Gus the Bus, who is going to load up on touchdowns. Gus Edwards.
That's terrible. Gus Edwards. What is this, deep sleeper time?
He's going in like the 11th round.
Yeah, for a reason.
Hold on, is he still in Baltimore?
I think he's still in Baltimore.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm not buying any of that.
Get on the bus because he's going to take you to the fantasy championship.
Well, I don't know about any of that, but I'll bring this back around to my top sleeper running backs. This is the one that I really want to grab after I get the 2 receivers, because unlike Montgomery, this guy, or both of them, are actually going to be there for sure, and that's Travis Etienne. I am really, we talked about that earlier in the offseason. I am really high on this guy. It's a familiarity thing, you know. Urban Meyer, Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, they all played together in college. They're going to want to get him on the field. There's no doubt about it.
Actually, Urban Meyer never had either of them.
Yeah, sorry, I meant Lawrence and Etienne played together. So whatever. Be all that as it may. If James Robinson were to end up to steal the starting job, well, then I would pivot my thoughts onto him. Yeah. But I really want to grab Etienne. I'm hoping that's going to work out just because I'm a fan of his. Be all that as it may. Robinson last year, so from a Jacksonville running back perspective, 240 carries, 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns, 49 catches, 600 yards, 3 touchdowns. So there is production to be had in Jacksonville, and no one's hyping it or talking about it very much. So it's a perfect spot for someone like me who grabs 2 receivers to go out and get a running back that feels like this guy can compete with the big boys, and I'm going to make them feel silly when my guy at least keeps up with the superstars.
So Etienne would be one of your top top sleepers, eh?
Yeah, well, because him and Robinson are both going in round 5, I believe, and I just can't parse out how that's going so early in training camp. You know, we don't really know what the situation is with them, but grabbing one of them or both would feel like a decent idea as far as trying to fill out your team early on. Because there's clearly production there to be had when I'm looking at the numbers of how they ran the ball. And let's be honest, they did that with Gardner Minshew, who I am not a fan of.
Yeah.
I mean, Pop Gun Arm was not going to give them any threats downfield, so he did this with sort of not really much of an offense to talk about. So that's my top sleepers of the running backs.
What do you think about Kamara and Zeke? Both, top 5 running backs, going to go very early in the draft.
Well, I think Zeke at this point has proven that he's eaten himself out of the league. You know, he never comes into camp in shape, and that offensive line is not what it once was. So he's not going to have much help, and they're going to spread it out and air it out.
You know, it's a funny thing with Zeke, because I remember his rookie year when he came in, and we all kind of missed the boat on him. He actually went fairly late. I remember who he went to Steve, who ended up making a blockbuster trade with Dan to send Elliott to Dan for just a bucket of crap. I can't believe Steve took that trade. That's neither here nor there.
He also gave me Mike Evans.
I looked back on that trade or where he got drafted and thought to myself, man, it's only Zeke's rookie season, but I feel like I missed the boat, and I'm never gonna have a chance to draft him in fantasy ever again.
Yeah.
Because A, I like receivers, and which I already was getting pretty serious into back then.
Yeah.
And B, there's always been a problem or a stigma around Zeke now every freaking year. Either he was being suspended, or he was coming out of shape, or the line was bad, or Dak went down. So it's been a very strange situation with Zeke, where you're taking on a lot of risk compared to some of his peers, and you're not really feeling great about it.
So I think we're all in agreement that Zeke is probably a pass.
I didn't put him in the bust because I'm a fan of his. I am a fan of his. You know, when it comes to DFS, I love to play him as much as I can.
But when you have a top 5 overall pick,
it's just so tough if you're not getting
him.
the production that you need out of him. And frankly, we know with running backs, each year is like a ticking time bomb. You never know when that's going to explode as you get 1 year older, and it's a really unfortunate reality of the running back landscape.
So this was Zeke's rookie year. I have the trade here, the blockbuster trade. Mike Evans, Zeke Elliott, and the linebacker Brandon Marshall for Melvin Gordon, Lamar Miller, and Randall Cobb.
It wasn't about the trade. It was just about the fact that I had this lingering feeling, like even though it was his first year in the league, that I was never going to get him ever again because he was always being overdrafted. It seems that that's the territory with Dallas players. They're a very popular team. The average public will always overdraft Dallas players.
Shout out to Steve, one of our buddies in our league. His team name Underdogs, and he's always a powerhouse as well. Shout out to Steve.
He does not do a lick of research, and he always manages to use that damn book he maximizes that book like no one I've ever seen. You know, he is one wild ride.
Zeke, this year you actually had a great that year you had a great trade too, Rob. Jordy Nelson is who you got for Barry Church, Von Miller, and Emmanuel Sanders.
That's how he won the chip. But just coming back around to finalize that thought, I don't have a lot of ill feelings towards Zeke. It's just you've never gotten him at a fair price. I mean, how are you going to get an elite player at a fair price? But it's always felt like, you know what, you can just draft someone else when you're talking this early in the draft if you don't want.
How do you like Kamara with the new quarterback?
I'll start real quick and I'll let Dan go. You know what? Kamara's always been an interesting case because they've always managed his workload properly. He's never been overused or exposed to nasty hits. So he's definitely a hard guy to not love. I was always butthurt the year that Jess drafted him and I drafted Odell Beckham. I felt like such a jerk. Like, I let this guy slip to almost the second round and I'm sitting here with nothing in my hand.
I remember that.
Yeah, like I remember these things. Guys, the losses you'll always remember more than the wins. It is a painful situation when it comes to gambling and it comes to fantasy sports.
I'm just looking at the running back situation in New Orleans, and so Latavius Murray is still there.
Yeah.
Ty Montgomery.
That means nothing to me. All I'll say is that I've already made my stance on how I'm high on the Saints and all their players. So Kamara would be right in there. I didn't do him a service talking about must-haves. Maybe I should have. There's nothing wrong with Kamara. He's a great player.
Yeah. The way he ended with the 6 touchdowns in the fantasy championship.
It makes him look better than what his season was in a way because, but hey, if you won off of that, you are not going to be upset about it. So I would fully endorse Kamara. for where he's going. If you
Where
want
is
to
he
pick him-
going? He's going what,
He's
top-
like number 4. He can easily go
Top 5.
I mean, listen, you could go number 1 when you're number 4. If someone
Yeah.
likes you enough
Yeah,
and they're
exactly.
not slaves to the book or the projections, they can be like, you know what, F it, I want Kamara. Give me Kamara.
So you need
there's nothing wrong with-
you need a top 5
Absolutely,
pick.
yeah.
To
Unless
get-
he's going
get
to
him.
slide to you, and even then, I mean,
Yeah.
he's just a more appealing player than
Oh, if
most of these
Kamara
guys.
is there at 6 or 7, that's a good pick.
Yeah.
Old Shauner there. He always.
The key
always
is he hasn't been
manages running
overworked.
backs.
He's never been overworked, and you're not worried about exhaustion.
And this goes
hitting
back to
guy.
the Pierre Thomas days.
And their pocket
back
is
in
great,
New
by the
Orleans.
way. They have a great pocket in the Saints. They're a very underrated pocket.
So a guy I've been hearing a lot about, and it looks like a lot of people are really high on him, is Cam Akers.
Yeah, I mean Sean McVay, he'll always get the best out of his running backs. He was the guy by default last year because he was the only one healthy. I'm very torn on this guy because I don't know exactly what to think. Some days I'll wake up and I'll be like, oh yeah, it's worth a 2nd round pick. Other days I was like, it's Cam Akers,
Yeah, I'll draw my line in the sand here pretty clearly. Jumping around here, 2 busts I have. One is Cam Akers and the other is Antonio Gibson.
Shit!
That's based on ADP more
Yeah.
than anything. I am just absolutely flabbergasted how these guys.
That's a big statement
Well,
by Mr. Hot Take.
I'll explain.
big one.
I'll explain to you guys how I got there because it's not all that complicated.
The
I
floor
don't
is
know
yours.
how these guys just have one good game and then end up being crowned the champions of the effing NFL. Okay, Akers and Gibson. Here's some guys that they are going ahead of right now in the draft: Joe Mixon. Harris, the Pittsburgh guy. Najee Harris, Miles Sanders, J.K. Dobbins, Montgomery, Josh Jacobs. How are they going ahead of these guys?
Yeah.
This is absolutely... So here's what's going to happen. I guarantee you this is what's going to happen with the average fantasy football person. They're going to grab this book or the projection sites. They're going to take it to the draft. They're going to take these guys in the 1st or 2nd round, and they're going to be pissed off when the production doesn't match the Kamaras, the Chubbs, pick anyone. These guys are way overhyped and way overdrafted as far as what we're looking at in this current landscape. That's all I'm
'cause
saying about that.
Cam Akers is going late 1st round?
Yes.
Late 1st round,
And let's remember, Cam Akers was barely able to win that job all of last year. He was competing with Darrell Henderson
Yeah.
and another one,
Malcolm Brown.
That's unbelievable to me. If you can't beat out these guys, how, I almost want to drop some F-bombs here, but how in the hell are you being drafted in the 1st round compared to some of these elite players in the NFL?
Malcolm Brown is gone. That helps a little bit.
That's a little bit.
And remember, they're being drafted ahead of some elite receivers too, which I'm not putting in this particular list because I don't have the entire list in front of me. But they are being drafted in front of Michael Thomas. I mean, it is just crazy to me.
Yeah.
What's going on with these ADPs?
Akers is going late 1st round, and Gibson is going where? Also?
Yeah, right
middle
behind him.
second round.
No. Yes, but
Yeah, that sounds more
Akers
accurate.
is 19 and Gibson is 20. All that tells you is that they are going rounds 1 and 2, or rather in round 2.
Ahead of some studs.
Some really good
Yeah.
football proven players.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's just very
So
weird to me.
so I get where you're coming from when you have them on your bus list because of the ADP.
Especially, not to jump around, but Gibson they play in Washington. I do not think Washington has a good offense. I don't
Okay.
think that they're set up to be some explosive great team.
Yeah.
And again, be careful drafting good players on bad teams. That is what I'm always saying, and you got to be very careful doing that. And frankly, the Rams are not who they use. People still think of the Rams as the Todd Gurley Super Bowl. And, Sean McVay is a great guy, but there's a lot of question marks about how this team is going to look, what they're going to do. I'm sure Stafford will be a fine quarterback, but this doesn't mean that you're drafting these guys to be your workhorse back when you have very little proof that they can do that. I mean,
That's a good point I want to reiterate is be careful drafting good players on bad teams. That's a really good
I've been
point.
burned by that many times.
The listeners should take that away and write that down because that's a really good point.
I know from experience that it can feel really great when you're looking at a guy that you like.
So when you say that, you mean Antonio Gibson with the football team Washington, right?
Yes,
That's an example.
Yes. Though frankly, I think that Cam Akers can be in that same bucket. I don't think that you can guarantee that the Rams are going to be.
You don't think the Rams are going to be
I
a
don't
good
think
team?
you can guarantee it.
Okay.
They play in a competitive division.
Yeah.
Right.
I like Antonio Gibson. So I had a question. J.D. McKissick is no longer with Washington. Is that correct? Because he was their third down back.
No, he's still with Washington.
He is?
Yeah, he's
Okay.
a fringe NFL player. I wouldn't be worried about
because
a guy like
Gibson
that.
is a great third down back. He can catch the ball.
He had some monster games. There's no. I will see. He
Friggin'
crushed
Thanksgiving.
Dan on Thanksgiving. 4 touchdowns. It
Yeah.
was wild. But
I like Gibson, but when it comes
It's
to
okay to like him,
to ADP, when it comes to
It's madness.
me taking my first or second
you'll have
round
a hard
pick,
time getting there. You're gonna look at players around him, and you're gonna have a hard
Yeah.
time getting there. It's gonna be a dance of death where people are gonna keep looking at him and not sure if they should do it or go a different direction.
yeah, no. If I have to use my second round pick on Antonio Gibson, I think, like you said, I think there's going to be some better players there available.
Both these teams are lacking a pocket. That's another thing you have to look at for your running backs. When they don't have great pockets, don't expect an amazing. Like they've both lost players. The LA pocket's gotten old. They've gotten long in the tooth. Washington had to get rid of their amazing left tackle last year, or he didn't play last year. The year, I can't remember who they went to San Fran.
Trent Williams.
Yeah, Trent Williams. It's just when you lose these guys, these are big pieces of your team that you got to replace.
And like you said, Dan, I'm also torn with Cam Akers. I'm just not sure yet about him. I guess I got to do a little bit more research.
Maybe if you see him in training camp and you really like what you see, maybe you're going to be a believer in him. I mean, we all have to make stands.
I was really high on Henderson last year. I drafted Darrell Henderson.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not sure about Cam Akers.
No, he's not Todd Gurley.
But I'm definitely not using my first or second round pick.
That's the key here. That's the key to
Cam
my
Akers.
ADP. When it comes to ADP, you have to leverage all these players versus where you're getting them.
Who do you want to talk about, Dan? You got any good sleepers or must-haves?
Well, I touched about this in the last episode too, but under no circumstance should you draft any Denver Bronco. And right now, Javonte Williams is going high. He's going 30. He's 31 ranked running back, so that puts him 5th, 6th round.
Got him in the 7th on the last one I was in. For what it's worth.
And you're saying to stay away?
Stay away from him. Stay away from Melvin Gordon, and this team's going to be behind a lot, so they're going to be throwing the ball all over the field.
Well,
good point.
I disagree with Dan. Actually, they were one of the duos that I looked at in the sleeper category because, again, there's not a lot of quality sleeper candidates in running back. They all go very early.
Yeah.
It's hard to find these guys deep. Listen, Gordon last year had 215 attempts, 900 yards, 9 touchdowns, 4.6 yards per carry, 32 catches for 180 yards and a touchdown. He was okay. And let's call it like it is. If Teddy Bridgewater ends up winning the job, that's going to change the narrative around Denver very much so. So you have to wait and see. If Drew Lock is back, I'm not a big fan of his. We'll see.
Where is Melvin Gordon going in drafts?
I have him here around 5 and 7 right now, so they're going a little high. But if you're looking
5 for Gordon and
7
Javonte Williams for 7.
Yeah.
See,
it's
now
a little high.
They're going like almost
But you're not seeing a lot of running backs past that right now. That's what's happening with these things, right? I mean, they're all just going so damn early.
Guys that you can get behind them that you might be a little bit more comfortable.
You won't find a lot of confident names. I've dug really deep on this when I was looking.
I'm all about the bus, baby. I'm all about Gus the Bus.
I don't know why.
I like Javonte Williams, but Dan, that's a good point. That they might be behind a lot, so they might be throwing the ball a little more. If I have to pick Gordon in the 5th or Williams in the 7th, I definitely go with Javonte Williams.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna be good.
All I know is that I had Gordon last year, and he wasn't a problem. Like he got me points. He was productive enough
when he was on the
when
field.
He was out there, yeah. And you're gonna run into this problem a lot in the new NFL. Believe it or not a lot of bell cows exist anymore. Anyways,
Yeah.
I know that's like contradictory to what I said before, but. It's just it's a lot of duos these days. I mean, it's hard to find these guys that are always out there. So
where's Josh Jacobs? Josh Jacobs getting drafted.
See, this one is complete fool's gold because I got him in the 4th round, and there's no way he's gonna go that low. If he was in the 4th round, I'd be laughing because I take him in the 3rd. Frankly, I'll take him in the 3rd round if that's my options.
I believe Salim in our league drafted him.
But second overall.
Second overall,
yeah.
It was a homer. It was a homer pick. Salim did what he did.
Yeah. I was okay. I was okay with the pick.
He's a quality player, but he gets nicked up quite a bit.
And now he's competing with Kenyon Drake.
He always seems to have a shoulder injury or something.
Kenyon Drake.
It's fun. Like I said, I'm a big fan of Josh Jacobs.
I mean, if he's there in the third or fourth round,
that's kind of what I'm saying. I mean,
that seems like a logical pick.
Yeah, when I'm looking at these guys, I'm trying to get after my receiver run. Josh Jacobs is right at the top of the list. He's right there with Najee Harris, Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs. These guys are all going right in that delicate area where if you're right in the right spot, you can grab one in the third round.
Yeah.
So far, these things change very quickly, and depending on your league, there's going to be some sharks that know better, and they won't let these guys slide. But not everyone can be drafted all at the same time. This is the key to fantasy football. This is why guys end up dropping, because not everyone can be drafted at the same time.
Speaking of rookie running backs, what do you got? Do you guys like Najee Harris in Pittsburgh?
Very high on him. Very high.
Yeah. I talked about that with you a little bit earlier in the season where I was waiting to see, and it's a little bit of a downer right now in Pittsburgh where I'm not really sure what to expect from them. I want to be able to cheer for them and rely on their players to be fantasy proficient, but I'm not 100% sure. Here's the thing that really bothers me about Pittsburgh. 5 new offensive linemen this year.
That could be a good thing considering how last year was bad.
But they were the best line for they've been a really good line for a lot of years, and it's just a lot of turnover all at once.
Yeah,
Pouncey's one of the best centers that the league has ever seen. So I say whenever a team loses a center, especially, it's really damaging. We got a lot of moving parts in Pittsburgh with Big Ben apparently he's lost some weight. We'll see if the elbow's better. We don't really know.
That's good
they have
news.
this weird thing with the receivers where we don't know who the hell's getting the ball, and it's just a little strange.
Yeah, they got receivers. I like Harris. I think he's gonna get a lot of work. I don't think there's much competition.
Be all that as it may, like I was saying, he's going basically like 26 or something, which is right in the beginning of the third round. So once again, if you're on that spot, you're gonna feel so great getting Najee Harris as your third pick.
I'm telling you, Scott,
that's the key.
Najee Harris might go in the first round in our league. I'm being serious.
He
reminds
will.
me a lot of Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
There's
how the hype was there, and then he goes, and whether or not it ends up working out or being warranted, it's hard to keep these players suppressed because everyone knows and sees them.
Yeah.
So
I see Najee Harris not only in our draft, but I think in most drafts, I think he's going to go way ahead of his average.
Like I said, as of
position.
right now, he's 26th. That's really high already.
Overall.
Yeah, overall.
Okay.
And that could definitely go up. He could definitely get in the second round. I don't see why he couldn't.
Hasn't he been continuously moving up?
No, he actually started in almost the first round, like early silly springtime mockers.
Either way, you're gonna have to pay a premium for this guy.
I don't agree. It really depends on your league. There's gonna be some wild swings with this guy. You can see it. You can just see where he is right now. There's gonna be wild swings of where his ADP goes, depending on who is in your league. If you have Pittsburgh fans. Like that.
You're gonna have to reach for Najee Harris.
The thing is, you have to, like I just said, not everyone can get drafted at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So if guy like
you got to make a choice.
But like you get those first 12 guys, and then you got like I said, we're talking about Gibson and Mixon, and guys have to go at some point. So if one doesn't, the other one does, and a guy drops, and that's kind of the game you play.
You mentioned Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So what do you think about this year?
Well, as long as he can get over the allergy that he has to the end zone, because this guy cannot get in for whatever reason. We saw him get stuffed multiple times at the 5, and they gave it to him 4 times.
So they got rid of Damian Williams, I believe.
Yep.
Damian Williams is gone.
Obviously, Le'Veon Bell's not there.
Anytime you can attach yourself to a high-powered offense like Kansas, and you want a piece of that,
exactly.
Go ahead and do it.
That's the opposite of what I said before. You can have bad players on good teams, and they can work out for you. I will say this: I was really excited about the prospect of having Clyde Edwards-Helaire earlier in the season because he was going way late. He was going in like the 3rd round.
Okay.
That shit is over. He's the 13th overall player on ADP, basically.
So Darrell Williams is his competition.
Yeah,
Damian is gone.
It's not even competition.
So it looks like he'll get a lot of work.
He's going really high. Someone's probably going to grab him as their second back if they go really running back heavy or something.
Second round pick.
Well, he's going 13th right now, so like he's right on that cusp. I don't know if he's going to get into the first round, but he's right there. So someone's probably going to want to bang hit him on the swing or something.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a discount on him, unfortunately. He wasn't the greatest last year, surprisingly, after he kicked the crap out of Houston.
Yeah.
So I'm not. See, I wouldn't be overly eager to overdraft this guy. I mean, it's fine. Don't get me wrong. Kansas is awesome, and anytime you have Kansas players, you're gonna feel pretty good. But you're not getting any discount on him.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. So it is what it is.
Joe Mixon, bust?
You can take that name, throw him right out. He's gonna get hurt.
The curious case of Joe Mixon, man. I tell you.
Dan is throwing names in the garbage.
Just right out there.
The offensive line in Cincinnati is no good. They're in a tough division, and when push comes to shove, the weather's gonna get cold. Joe Mixon ain't gonna be there.
All right.
Yeah, I'll tell you this much. I've had Joe Mixon a lot of years, and it never really, unfortunately, works out.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the cases where it's a little bit of bad luck. I don't see him as like an incredibly injury-prone Ryan Matthews type. Like, geez, this guy gets hurt in a hot dog eating contest. This is unreal. Like, he slips on a banana peel on his way to the bathroom or something.
Yeah.
I think that if Mixon miraculously, because right now I had him at number 21. If this guy fell into the third round, 5 more spots, I would definitely grab him. It's not saying that I wouldn't grab him at 21, but again, when I'm taking my receivers, I don't have access to all these players that are going before me. So I don't hate him. It's
third round pick Joe Mixon.
I know it sounds crazy, but when players disappoint you year after year after year,
you're gonna go away from them.
Well, they do tend to drop a little bit, and right now he's dropping a little bit. He's getting really close to the cusp of that second, third round. If I had the opportunity to grab him on that swing with my third pick, I absolutely would, just because the talent is there. For what it's worth, camp talk is always the worst. Like, everyone's the bestest shape they've ever been and all that crap.
It's always the worst.
But they have multiple times already reported that they want to feed him the ball this year. So
he's let me down too. I had him. I think it was last year actually, and he let me down. So for me to use a third round pick on him,
it's tough.
I think it's a no for me.
But you know what? I like Joe Burrow. I like their offense.
Yes.
I think that there's opportunity to score some points. You know, you said that their division is really
tough.
Really tough.
But it's such a. It's hard to make that claim when you're so far out of the season. For all you know, look what happened to who was a terrible defense last year. It felt like the Steelers when Bush goes down and Spillane goes down and they have no safeties. It's like, man, all of a sudden you're scoring against these guys, so you can't really make that declarative statement. You know what I'm saying?
You gotta face Cleveland twice. You gotta face Baltimore twice.
All I'm saying is that I would take Mixon if he actually fell to me in the third round. No questions, because there's so few options when you're getting down there. But that's just me.
So Scott is saying yes on a third round
Based
pick,
on
and
the third,
Dan and I are throwing Mixon's name in the garbage.
Get him out of here. Just take him and throw him out.
He's still young.
Do you got any guys you want to mention that you should stay away from when it comes to
let's take a look here. I think we've mentioned pretty much everybody and their mothers.
What's that? Sorry, where were we on?
Just running backs to stay away from?
In general.
Yeah, okay. Did you want to get this one, Dan, or do you want me to light a firecracker off in this? That one's going to piss off some people.
Go for it.
So the number one guy on my list, and this comes back to just a little bit of anecdotal history.
For bust, you mean?
Yeah, is actually Dalvin Cook. I do not trust Dalvin Cook.
Okay.
Listen, he might be the highest scoring fantasy player in the league, but I guarantee you, show me a team that won with him in the playoffs, because he's never there. He plays very hard, and he does get hurt because of that, and that's not that might not be fair.
There's a lot of risk there.
He does what I call the Kermit run. He runs a little bit with his knees out, and it ends up where you get clipped. He gets clipped a little bit here and there with some wild runs he does. He's not tight like Derrick Henry or where they stay nice and compact and they don't leave themselves exposed to getting some nasty injuries. So he can play. Don't get me wrong, but you're gonna have to take him number 2 overall. And if he goes down, you're going to feel very bare. You're going to feel very naked. Like, damn, my team just took a serious hit. And that's why I have Dalvin Cook on the bus list, because he's such a dangerous pick.
What pick are you hoping to end up with? Like, around where?
Well, I always get the first pick, so I'm hoping to avoid that. If you're in the 6, 7, 8 range,
that's
getting
what
the
you're
swing.
hoping for.
That's where you make your cheddar.
Yeah. What about you, Scott?
Yeah, I don't have any fear about that anymore. I've blown.
You're okay with whatever.
Yeah, because I don't respect the projections lists. I make my own lists. So
if you end up with the first or second pick overall, are you drafting a receiver?
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah?
Yeah, no question.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
My second guy is DeAndre Hopkins. I love these guys. They're the cream of the top. They are target hogs. They're
Now,
machines.
can you get Hopkins on the swing?
You probably cannot this time. That was, by the way, that was my team last year. I had Tyreek Hill and DeAndre Hopkins because
Yeah.
I got them on the swing, like you just said.
Yeah.
Probably can't do it this year, but that's okay because I have a third guy I really like.
But if you end up with, let's say, the 6th or 7th pick,
You never know.
Maybe you
never
can
know,
get
'cause
both.
guys get really crazy
Maybe you
about
can
running
get
backs.
both.
Guys get really crazy about them, and they take them. So the
I'll
FOMO.
throw. Okay, so to finish off the episode, I'll just throw out a couple running back names, and you guys give me a quick info on these guys. All right, so let's see here. Austin Eckler.
Curious case. I don't know a whole lot about Staley there, the head coach, but I'm gonna say no because I don't like the Chargers.
Well, his ADP is out of control. He's number 15, so he's basically on the swing.
Yeah.
He's a great player. He's really in shape. It's like he plays tough, but he's kind of like these Chargers, man. They're some of the most cursed people walking the earth. They get hurt no matter what they do, So I just I don't love him at 15. You know
Gotcha.
what I mean? But it is what it is, I guess.
Chris Carson.
Well, Rashad Penny's back, so that might hurt him a little bit. If Penny can play more than a snap. But Carson, he's going the wrong way. He's looking at the other side of 30.
I was a Carson anti-fan from the beginning when he was doing really amazing things. So
Yeah.
I certainly am no Carson fan in the twilight of his career. What I feel may be the twilight of his career. Hard pass for me. No interest in Chris Carson.
All right, this one's for you, Dan. J.K. Dobbins.
Oh boy, fucking Dobbins.
He gives me rage.
Yeah.
He knocked me out of the playoffs last year.
Oh, I held on to him for 17 weeks and then dropped him there and lost because of him.
Because you're really high on his competition.
Gus the bus.
It's just ridiculous.
I think there's room for both of them, but at the ADP that you're getting, Edwards compared to Dobbins, there's a better chance that Gus is going to be getting the red zone work. So, there's still room for both of them. Push come to shove, I would take Dobbins, though.
Raheem Mostert.
Yeah, I was going to say that Dobbins is going number 30, just real quick, and I would take him. I really would like to grab him in that third round if I could. If there was no one else, if they're all gone, I would take him. That's all I have to say about that.
I think so. I agree with you, Scott.
I'm a big Dobbins fan.
I agree with you. Third round,
Baltimore is a great
third
running
round,
team.
J.K. Dobbins sounds good to me, man.
They seem to wait. Did Marshall Yanda just retire this year, or was that last year?
No, he
so
just
that's
retired.
a bit of a worry because he's like one of the greatest centers to ever play, Marshall Yanda. So that's too bad. But
Raheem Mostert.
Hard pass.
Absolutely not. I've never been a fan of his. Like I said, is he still a Niners running back?
Still a Niner.
Yeah, I just don't trust these committee running backs in the Niners, man. You never know what you're getting out of them.
David Johnson.
No, I don't want nothing to do with Houston. Actually, that's not true, but we'll save that for another day.
David Johnson is actually on my sleepers list, not because he's some great secret, but you know what? He's going in the 7th round. He had 147 attempts last year, 691 yards, 6 touchdowns, 4.7 yards per carry. By the way, that's fine. I know that he didn't really work out well for you because you took him really early. But if you're getting him in this late 7th round area this year, he could still catch the ball. He's still a great 33 catches last year. That team was a disaster. I mean,
7th round.
Right now, that's
where he was. Seems like a steal.
Yeah, I would reach up to get him a little bit if I was in running back trouble, which I no doubt will be. So you could probably expect me to be looking at David Johnson just based on his pedigree.
Yeah.
I don't mind him, especially if this is a guy this guy went first overall a few years ago. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah.
I'm not saying he's still that guy, but I definitely will have my eye on him to see how training camp looks with David Johnson.
One guy I'm really high on is Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah.
For Carolina.
Yeah.
See, he's the number one handcuff, but unless McCaffrey goes down.
All right, so in closing, you got Nick Chubb real high on, Scott?
Yeah, absolutely.
Jonathan Taylor?
Yeah, we disagreed, but I'm really high
Montgomery?
on him.
Yeah.
David Montgomery?
Yeah. I should add, there was one guy we didn't talk about that I just will get in there real quick is Miles Sanders. He was another one of those third round targets.
Yeah.
I think that getting away from Doug Peterson is going to do a real service for this guy because Doug Peterson was just dragging down the whole team. to be quite frank.
Yeah,
You know, last year even 164 attempts, 800 yards, 6 touchdowns, 5.3 yards per carry for Sanders. That is monstrous. This guy led the league in fantasy points like 2 years ago, I believe, Miles Sanders. He had a really big season. I'm really high in his resurgence, and I'll be eyeballing him if he falls.
Gotcha. Anything else, guys?
I think that covers it for the running backs.
Yeah, we touched on a lot of guys,
Respect
man.
to Kamara, who could be a must-have if you really wanted to throw him in there, because I didn't give him enough love originally when I created my list, but he's right in there. Oh, and Fournette went 25 in my last mock draft. Please don't do that. I don't know I'm not sure what's going on with Yahoo or why they think Fournette is a starting running back.
No,
I think it's just complete
not.
Confusion. You might have a few suckers that buy the book and fall for that one if they get an early copy. Don't do that. He shouldn't even be on this list.
All right, guys. Like and subscribe. I think we're going to post these to YouTube, audio only. And follow us on Instagram and Twitter, Fantasy Football Scouts.
Respect the truth, you know? We're trying.
This is the running back position. And thanks for listening.
Peace.